just quickly, I want to touch on the last point I want before we move forward type thing. But the Tamaide at fullback is a really interesting approach. It's a different style to CNK, but also I call it like a trinity of halves. It was like having three halves on the field when you got into an attacking set, and it just made it look a lot more dynamic. Those that argue for the kicking game and that this was a good game to see Tamaide just used purely as his running and passing game. And then he got into his kicking game in the second half. But I like the look of it. You saw a lot of the tries. In fact, Tamaide was involved in pretty much all the tries. But you see him getting all around the park. Do you feel that this is a genuine look we could go to throughout the season? Is it maybe what we will do, or do you think we'll go back traditionally to the CNK with CNK at the back and just traditional two halves? But I found it quite interesting and quite effective at times as well. What's your thoughts, Ash?
Yeah, I think it's opened up the opportunity for us to run that sort of look. I think the way we could do that is mainly have maybe Tamaide Martin in that 14 jersey or Chanel Harris-Tavita in that 14 jersey, put him on and run those sort of players. The only thing that worries me about that a little bit is going to be a little bit more janky, as in those boys are going to come on the field and find themselves into that situation. But, obviously in this game, they're able to start the game off like that and build a combination throughout the game like that. When you do that mid-game, sometimes that is a little bit tougher to do, but it definitely looked really nice, especially with a fullback that goes on both sides of the ruck, playing out the back of both shape. The way I looked at it was, of course, that option 100% can work, and Tamaide has showed that he can play in that fullback role like he did with the Broncos, and he had success doing so. But I was also thinking of, I think Webby used it as a tool as well to show Tamaide where he wants him to, to put himself when he's in the lineup next to Luke Metcalfe, if he is going to be the sixth to start the season. Because a lot of the moments that he was end up getting put into was a lot of those positions that he needed to be into to create that hybrid halfback role that he's talking about with Luke Metcalfe, right? Where he can get Luke Metcalfe out the back of shape, or he can get out the back of shape of Chanel Harris-Tavita, which was on that left-hand side, which Luke Metcalfe would probably be that, dominant half that's sweeping on the opposite side of the ruck. So I think that I thought he had a decent performance in that Sharks trial, but a lot of people obviously calling out for being quiet. I don't know if Webby maybe took it as obviously he looked very quiet in that trial as well. Maybe I could have been wrong there. And in this one, he's trying to put Tamaide in all the positions he wants him to be into. It's a lot easier for him to do that at fullback, right, than he is to be in the six, where he's got to be defensive line, he's got to stick in his position. But he's probably just opening him up and say, listen, you got free reign. Get to yourself in these spots and allow the attack to build. So those are the things I was thinking about, but it definitely opens up the opportunity to run that three fullback look, that three half look, right, that you spoke about. Yeah. So just have to wait and see. At the moment, I still think it's Luke Metcalfe, Tamaide Martin, 6-7. But Chanel Harris-Tavita having that game that he did, he showed a good ability there too, especially the left foot kicker. So what's your thoughts in there, bro? How'd you take it?
See, I took it as a really good sign, and it actually helped Metcalfe and CHT. There was the tries that he set up for Leatoa. Tamaide did that double play on the short side that set up the first try for Leatoa, and then he was involved in a lot of the plays, but they kind of changed the point of attack and when they were using Tamaide as opposed to how would they use CNK. And I talked to you on Sunday about it as well, as that remember the game against the Sharks game and Luke died with the ball on the fourth. And then CNK put that grabber kick in and it went dead for 7 tackle set. What if that was actually Tamaide on that fifth tackle putting in a grabber and you get a potential try? It's just putting questions in mind that we, even as fans, we should try and think outside the box sometimes and don't think that the natural solution is always a running type fullback. I mean, yardage-wise, Tamaide did great as well, but I'm not saying he's a better runner or even style of runner like a Tane or a CNK. The other part was the defensive organizing part, which is massive too, and he was pretty good at that as well. So I'm not trying to say he's only good at one thing. I thought he did covered well in all departments, but it's something that we should be encouraged by, that if we do get in an injury run or if we're finding the attack is stalling, that we've seen it in preseason, there's an opportunity there. The last thing I'll say is about CHT. I do. I actually understanding why I think CHT might work with Metcalfe is that it takes a bit of the pressure off of Metcalfe on fifth tackle options. Take a bit of his numbers down. I talked about last night was that Sean could kick the ball 30, 40 times a game, no problem, and get it on a dime every time, get it where he wanted to. I think with Luke, especially in his first season, we need to take a bit of that kicking pressure off of him to allow him to process and get his mind focused for the next set or, the processing part of it. And that's where I think CHT is a benefit in that sense, that you can just give him the ball in the fifth. Luke can get his head around, getting up for the next play. So that was my thought process around it. It's a headache for Webby, man, because you got so many different options. What do you do? But the thing I got from it though is I feel CHT Luke is the guy to lead the team. That's no doubt about it. Now we're talking about who the six is, who the fullback is, and that type of stuff. So I think we'll cement Luke Metcalfe as that 7, and then everything else should be built around him and actually supporting him, in my opinion. But just quickly before you go, thank you, Tony, for that $10 donation, my man. We always appreciate it. Thank you, bro. Thank you for your support. You're always a beast, man. But thank you very much. But yeah, actually, Ash, you had some thoughts to add to that.
I think like at the end of the day, right? Like I think I said that in my video on YouTube as well. And I've been a big proponent. I still think that like Luke Metcalfe, Tamade Martin works, and it does work well. Defensively, Tamade Martin obviously is very good in that position there. So is Chanel. But if Chanel gets that 6th role too, I think it's a very good looking position that we're in there too. I think the thing we can all agree on is whatever halves pairing they're going to go out there with, and Webby has shown that he's going to do this as well, because like a lot of people complained about him picking and sticking last year, that if he goes into the season with his halves pairing in his mind, he's going to pick and stick on those two and allow them to build that combination throughout the year. So I enjoyed the Shanaris DeVito look next to Luke Metcalfe. I agree, like having that left side kicking game definitely helped him out in those areas. Even in the moments, I think that Luke obviously had that 40-20, but Chanel had a lot more dominance in the general kicking, with both those sides there too. So it's like, it opens up different can of worms. You got like Tawane Martin that I believe like ball playing ability and all that probably outclasses those other boys there too. But if you want more of a complete number 6 that defensively can do a great job, he's still got good ball playing ability. Like he loves that double pump. Old Chanel, he threw that double pump about 3 or 4 different times, and the Storm still were biting on that double pump. I was like, guys, it's coming. I'm sure it's going to look good either way. And I think that even like with me, Cloudy, like I think Tanner Boyd's a decent footballer. I just want to see him grow, right? But if he gets some sort of jersey there too, I think either way, we're actually in a good position, because Luke Metcalfe looks like this year that he's going to step up and be the man. And everything else around that is just working around Luke Metcalfe, I believe anyway. So I'm happy to see Luke Metcalfe, Chanel, Luke Metcalfe, Tamade. I don't think it matters that much in the fact of that. I think Luke Metcalfe, no matter what, is going to get a big direction to the side, and he wants to be the 7, directs us into the future, and that's what we'll be waiting to see with a lot of these boys.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a great argument, and guys, when the halves are, we've all talked and argued different things for each player, but when those halves are decided round 1, I think everyone's going to get behind them and support them. So that will be great to see, and we can't wait for that. But it was definitely, I thought, very interesting having Tamari there. And I honestly think these halves in general, all of them, will have their ups and downs. But like I've always said, back them. The coach should back them if he believes in them, right all the way through. So, but yeah, that's absolutely awesome. Thank you guys. 86 of you guys in here. That's probably the biggest we've had in a long time. Thank you for dropping in. Can you hit that like? Just Tahi, one of our moderators, saying 9 more likes, Fano. So we'll hit that marker.
Before we move on too, bro, lastly, like whatever halves we end up running out there with over the weekend, just think that our New South Wales Cup halves are going to be absolutely incredible, right? Like it's one of like, Luke Metcalfe's got the 7 jersey, but it's one of Tanner Boyd, Tamade Martin, and Shanaris DeVita. 2 of those boys are going to be our New South Wales Cup pairing. So, and I think a lot of clubs would love to be in that position. So I think we're going to be okay. I think overall we're going to be okay.
Has Boyd played yet? No, PC hasn't. Unfortunately, injury. So we might see him through the season. I'm probably pretty sure we'll get a look in at him, or at least the New South Wales Cup, depending on how that happens. So, and we can definitely watch a lot more of that New South Wales Cup and 100%. See how he's tracking with the team and the system.